Chapter 6. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God hath given riches, wealth, and honour, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth. Yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. This is vanity, and it is an evil disease. If a man beget 100 children, and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial, I say that an untimely birth is better than he. For he cometh in with vanity, and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything that hath more rest than the other. Yea, though he live 1,000 years twice told, yet hath he seen no good. Do not all go to one place? All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. For what hath the wise more than the fool? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. That which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man, neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. Seeing that there be many things that increase vanity, what is man the better? For who knoweth what is good for man in this life, all the days of his vain life which he spendeth as a shadow? For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? In chapter 6, verses 1 and 2, we have a very interesting situation here. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. So obviously happens regularly. Verse 2, a man to whom God hath given riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth. So here's a man who has all the worldly things that he needs, yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. Now, obviously, this can't mean that the fellow who is wealthy and has honor and riches can't actually eat the food. What it means is he does not have power to get the benefit of all the riches, wealth, and honor that he has, but because he doesn't know how to capitalize on it perhaps, or because he's not satisfied with it, he gets nothing out of it. A stranger, other people who actually do the work, other people who are not in the same circumstances as him, actually get the benefit of all that he does. In verse 3, if a man beget 100 children and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, so his soul is not filled with good no matter how many children he has or how many years he's lived, and also that he have no burial, I say that an untimely birth, in other words, being stillborn or being born dead because you arrived too early to live, would be better than he. For the Hebrew people, not being properly buried was about the worst thing that could happen to you. That was absolutely horrible. For he cometh in vanity, and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. This was again, if you weren't properly buried, boy, nothing else that happened to you in this life or would be any good. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other. No, not really sure what that one means. Yea, though he live 1,000 years twice told. In other words, so if he lived 2,000 years, or he lived as though he did as much in 1,000 years as he could have done in 2 because he was really productive, and it could have been either one of those. Yet hath he seen no good. And even if all of that, do not all the people, according to preacher Ecclesiastes here, do not all go to one place, no matter how much good you've done, no matter how long you've lived. Won't we all go to the same place? Don't we all die? Don't we all go to the ground? This is what he's talking about. Don't we all get buried? And when we get buried, isn't that all there is? This is again this under the sun part. This is as man observes it. In verse 7, all the labor of a man is for his mouth. So what you're doing is to feed yourself. And yet the appetite is not filled. And yet tomorrow you're going to need to feed yourself all over again. For what hath the wise more than the fool? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. In other words, it is better for you to see than for your heart to desire things, because you can see without necessarily desiring. But if your heart desires something, then you're going to want to have it. Life will not be complete. You can see things, but if your heart imagines that you want things and you have things that you can't get, you have the desire to have things you can't get, that's a much more intense experience than just looking at something. And not being able to meet that desire is vanity and vexation of spirit. Verse 11, seeing there are many things that increase vanity, what is man the better? In other words, so there's lots more things that can affect you and are vain. You just try harder and harder to get more stuff, but what for? For who knoweth what is good for man in this life? All the days of his vain life which he spendeth as a shadow. Basically, for who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? In this verse 12 here, basically, for who knows? Who can tell man? I mean, obviously God could, but we're pretending here that although God exists in the conversation, it's not really a personal God that will actually talk to you and to whom you can get information, or from whom you can get information. For who knoweth what is good for man in this life? Should I be working? Should I just not work? Should I do the minimum? Should I do a great deal? All the days of his vain life which he spendeth as a shadow. In other words, a shadow is something that's not real, and it vanishes in the sun. So if your days, if all the thing that you're doing are like a shadow and they all vanish, and you die and you go into the grave and there's nothing, or what is the point of it all? These are the questions that the preacher is asking.